Thank you, Stefan. We are following some breaking news from our streets. One man dead after a shooting that happened early this morning in Brampton. It happened near the intersection of Credit View and Mayfield Roads around 4:30 this morning. Peel Regional Police issuing this tweet here just a short time ago. BT, though, has confirmed with Peel paramedics that the victim has died. He's believed to be a man in his 20s. So far, no other information has been released. There's no information about a suspect or any descriptions here. Our camera is en route. We'll bring you the very latest as soon as we get it here through the morning. Well, Canadians struggling financially due to the pandemic can start applying today for two new benefits from the federal government. One is a caregiver benefit for Canadians with young children forced out of school or daycare settings because of the virus. It provides $500 weekly for up to 26 weeks to people with children under 12 who cannot work more than half time due to pandemic-related caregiving responsibilities. Now, the second is a 2-week paid sick leave worth up to $1,000 for people who can't work more than half the week because they have contracted the virus or have an underlying condition that puts them more at risk of the illness. Well, a North York school closing for the week after a confirmed case of COVID-19. The Toronto Catholic District School Board announcing in a tweet, that there is a confirmed case at St. Charles Catholic School near Lawrence and Dufferin. And there's that tweet. While it's not clear who was infected, the Toronto Star reporting that it was a traveling teacher who came into contact with 3 different classes. Now, that traveling teacher plan was apparently approved by the Ministry of Education. So we're working to get a hold of the TCDSB for some further confirmation. But we are live outside of the school right now. The board says after discussions with Toronto Public Health, they decided to close that school out of an abundance of caution. It is expected to reopen next week. Meanwhile, remember we told you about Mason Road Junior Public School in Scarborough, which was the first school in Toronto to be closed because of a COVID outbreak. Well, it is set to reopen tomorrow. It was back on September the 28th that 1 student and 3 staff members testing positive for the virus. According to Toronto Public Health, an outbreak at a school is declared when there are at least 2 confirmed cases of COVID within a 14-day period with a link to a school setting. All students and staff were ordered to self-isolate until at least October the 2nd. And the latest numbers now, Ontario reporting 566 new COVID-19 cases yesterday. As walk-in testing closed this weekend, there will be no more lineups. And infectious disease experts say the province's shift to appointment-only testing, it now raises concerns that it could artificially deflate those daily case counts.
Just puts up maybe a bit of a barrier to getting a diagnostic test, and it might dissuade some people from getting a diagnostic test if they actually need one.
We should not be tightening testing criteria. We should not be reducing testing. We should be increasing it. We don't have the capacity we need. And moving to an appointment system doesn't actually solve that problem. It just makes it less visible.
So here's how it's going to roll out. As of tomorrow, you can only get a test with an appointment as assessment clinics are temporarily closed. There's also a pretty big backlog of almost 79,000 tests. To get an appointment, you have to call the assessment center or pharmacy that you want to go to for that test, but many of those are already full for the next few days. Now, coming up at 7:30, we're going to be speaking with infectious disease expert Dr. Andrew Morris about how to slow this second wave and what he thinks about this appointment-only assessment. Let's get back to President Donald Trump now, still in hospital battling COVID-19, but could be released as early as today, and he may have exposed more people to that virus after leaving the hospital for a short trip. Have a look.
We're going to pay a little surprise to some of the great patriots that we have out on the street.
Now, Trump was admitted to hospital on Friday after testing positive for COVID earlier on in the week. Reports suggests he had at least 2 dips in his oxygen levels and being treated with a steroid that is typically reserved for severe COVID cases. While his doctors continue to say Trump is doing well, the White House chief of staff said the president's vitals were concerning and he was not on a clear path to recovery. However, the president releasing 2 video messages from Walter Reed Medical Center saying he is feeling well. And despite having a contagious disease, Trump greeted his supporters with a drive-by outside the Maryland hospital. Medical officials are condemning this trip, saying he put everyone involved in serious risk of exposure to the virus. Experts say the risk is even higher for those in that SUV, as the vehicle is hermetically sealed against chemical attacks. It's not clear whether the president will go into quarantine after being discharged from the hospital. There are a lot of questions here. So coming up a little bit later on in the show at 8 o'clock, we were checking in live outside Walter Reed Medical Center with CNN's Daryl Forges.